Hey everybody, it's me, Peter, and today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Sup, guys? Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away.
Now, I am a huge Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man is and always has been my favorite superhero. To give you an idea of how much I like Spider-Man, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie that came out, I went to the premiere dressed as Spider-Man. You're probably imagining an adorable little 6-year-old in a Spider-Man costume. I was 11. Now, I didn't go to Spider-Man Homecoming dressed as Spider-Man, because a stupid costume wouldn't fit anymore, but Spider-Man's always been a really big part of my life. I've appreciated Spider-Man probably as much as I have any movie, which is really saying something. I grew up watching the Spider-Man cartoon and reading the original old Stan Lee, Steve Ditko comics, and so I want to get a little bit into the spirit of Spider-Man, which I think that Spider-Man Homecoming recaptured. Spider-Man is a lot about sacrifice, it's a lot about responsibility, and Peter Parker never really comes out on top. He's a very tragic hero, a very complex character. When Sony came out with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, I feel like they thought that we just wanted to see web slinging and wall crawling, and so that's what they gave us, but they didn't give us Spider-Man. They didn't give us Peter Parker the character. Peter Parker never comes out on top, whether it be in crime fighting or in his everyday life. There's a storyline in the comic books where Peter Parker, his first girlfriend is Betty Brant, and he decides that he's going to tell Betty who he really is. Shortly thereafter, Betty's father is killed and she sees Spider-Man fleeing the scene. And so Betty thinks that Spider-Man killed her father. She hates Spider-Man, and now he can't tell her that Spider-Man didn't kill her father, and he can't tell her that he is Spider-Man. This is a real classic example of what Spider-Man goes through. Flash Thompson is Peter Parker's bully, but Spider-Man's #1 fan. J. Jonah Jameson is Peter Parker's boss, but keeps posting articles about how terrible Spider-Man is. That kind of conflict was very important and very common in the Spider-Man comics. Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker debates on whether or not he should tell Gwen who he really is for all of 10 seconds before thwipping her dress and revealing who he is. Flash Thompson shows sympathy to Peter after Uncle Ben's passing and even appears to be friends with him by the end of the film. And then Gwen Stacy's father, on his deathbed, forces Peter to make a promise to him. A promise that he later breaks. And there's also zero tension as to whether or not he's going to keep that promise because Gwen figures it out immediately.
He made you promise, didn't he?
So there's a lot of really important aspects of Spider-Man that weren't in these Spider-Man movies. Anybody who's a huge fan of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, which I am one, would tell you that they don't like the show because of vampires and demons and all the fighting that happens in it. That's not what the show's about. They enjoy the show because of the lessons that it teaches them, the characters, the story. There's so much more to Buffy than just vampires, and there's so much more to Spider-Man than just crawling on walls. And nobody understands the source material quite like the source itself. So I was really excited for Spider-Man Homecoming because it was finally going to be done by Marvel. And I wasn't disappointed. I'll admit I was worried. It's hard to go into any Spider-Man movie now after the Sam Raimi films with Tobey Maguire and not expect them to just fall flat. But this version really hit all the important parts that Spider-Man's supposed to hit. So what I'm hoping will happen is that the success of Spider-Man Homecoming will have other studios kind of jump on board and allow Marvel to use their own stuff. The X-Men franchise and Deadpool has been doing fine without Marvel, and the MCU has been doing fine without X-Men, but the first Fantastic Four movie to come out was just kind of okay. And then the second one came out and it was just okay. And then this most recent one that came out, the first half of it was actually really good. Then the second half of it was just, it kind of sucked. I'm really hoping that they just allow Marvel to use Fantastic Four, bring them back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I didn't read any comic books outside of just the original Stan Lee comic books. But Fantastic Four had some storylines that, in my opinion, rivaled Spider-Man. Fantastic Four was brilliant, and I would love for Marvel to regain control of that franchise. In one of my favorite Fantastic Four issues, the Hulk was going on a rampage, and the Thing, trying to protect as many people as he could and also trying to subdue the Hulk, got into this epic battle with him. They brought down a bridge. It was awesome. It was just this awesome fight. If Marvel regained control of Fantastic Four, the Thing versus the Hulk could actually happen on the big screen. That would be amazing. I would love to see that. I've already gotten Spider-Man versus Captain America. I've gotten Captain America versus Iron Man. I've gotten Thor versus the Hulk, and apparently I'm going to get it again. I would love to see the Thing versus the Hulk. I think that would be awesome. So I didn't really talk about Spider-Man Homecoming too much, but I thought it was great. 9 out of 10 or whatever. I don't know. I kind of abandoned my whole rating system. It really did capture the old spirit of Spider-Man, though. There were times when he wanted to do something, the audience wanted him to do something, and he didn't do it because his responsibilities of Spider-Man got in the way. That's what Spider-Man's all about. That tragic hero, that guy who's just always falling a little bit short. That was another aspect of Spider-Man too, is that he's always outmatched. He never outmuscles anybody. It's actually rare that he ever beat a villain on his first time out. First time he fights the Sandman, he loses, and then he comes back a second time, and he outsmarts him. He tricks him into turning into sand and then sucks him up with a vacuum cleaner. First time that he fights the Vulture, he loses, and then he figures out how the Vulture's wings work. It works with some kind of magnetized engine magnet coupled with the wings, and he uses some kind of demagnetized super depolarizer mechanism.
It is a highly localized distortion of the space-time continuum.
Contained within discrete boundaries by an outer covering of silicates, actinides, and carbonaceous chondrites.
Depolarized unmagnetizer, and that's how he beats the Vulture. So I'm excited. I'm glad that Spider-Man is finally back home where he belongs. Can't wait to see him in the next Avengers movie. I can't wait to see him in the Spider-Man sequel. But I'm curious what you thought of Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm curious what you think of the Fantastic Four, if they could get the Thing and the Hulk fighting each other on screen. What are your thoughts on that? If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.